We had rock slides, mudslides, a year's worth of rain in 1 week. Also, there were tornadoes. It is January. This was the second time within a week that tornadoes touched down in the United States in the middle of January. This is unheard of. Now, what you probably didn't hear is that one of these tornadoes hit a Navy aircraft hangar. This comes from Fox News. Meteorologist Kurt Kaplan says a waterspout washed ashore about 7:15 p.m. Thursday, tearing the roof off a building at Naval Base, Ventura County. Vance Vasquez, a public affairs specialist at the Naval Base, confirms a good portion of the roof was torn off Hangar 351, which houses aircraft. Vasquez says debris was scattered on the tarmac and part of the runway, but flight operations at the base were not impacted. There were no reports of injuries. So you can, figure out the odds of a tornado in January in California, and then you can figure out the odds of a tornado in January in California striking a Navy base and ripping the roof off of a hangar. Well, guess what? If you assumed that tornadoes hitting Navy bases were rare occurrences, then unfortunately you've assumed incorrectly. I'm looking at a March 1st transcript on CNN, and I'm not going to read this to you as if I'm the different people speaking, because that would be very annoying, but I will just read this to you. Jamie McIntyre, CNN senior Pentagon correspondent. That's who's speaking. Well, I'm at the U.S. Army Helicopter School in Fort Rucker, Alabama. We're doing a story about helicopter pilot training, and you can probably hear the siren. It just picked up again in the background. That's the tornado warning. That a tornado has been spotted, they say, 15 miles from here at a nearby Army base. So everybody on the base here is being instructed to take cover. The helicopters are not flying today because of the weather. They've all been secured, chained down on the tarmac. Because of the dangerous weather conditions, people here at Fort Rucker School are taking cover. And it goes on and on and on. Yes, a tornado has hit an Army base. March 27th of last year, which was only a few weeks from the article I just read you. Twister damage surveyed Cannon Airmen help with cleanup. Commanders at Cannon Air Force Base in Clovis, New Mexico suspended flying operations Monday to let hundreds of airmen and heavy equipment from the base help the tornado-ravaged town clean up. Now this just happens to be a town where a tornado struck. The tornado didn't actually hit the base, to my knowledge. But if you go to Google and you take advantage of Google News and you check through the archives, now they've got this amazing archive year by year, you can find out just how many tornadoes or waterspouts or whatever you want to call them have struck military bases or struck the towns the military bases are sitting in. And I will be honest, this is mind-blowing when you look at it, because you always hear, oh, there's a tornado here, there's a tornado there, and no one bothers to put together the fact that tornado after tornado after tornado seem to be striking within a close proximity of United States military bases. So let's get back to China. As I documented in my own podcast, Salvation Revelation, right around the time when news started breaking about China seeding the clouds to make sure they had things under control for the Olympics, to make sure they had harnessed and reined in Mother Nature for the Olympics this summer, they began having a rash of torrential rain, horrible, horrible flooding, mudslides, thousands of people dying, just, coincidentally. And you might want to, link that together a little bit in your head, or at least contemplate the fact that that's what's going on the west coast of the United States. And that's got a huge role in the drought-ravished regions of the southeastern U.S. seaboard. Now, I need you to stick with me here. I need you to think about this as if you are on the level here, as if you understand and believe that the weather can in fact be modified, can in fact be controlled and weaponized. The United States is having serious financial problems right now. The United States stock market is sliding into oblivion. The value of the dollar is falling at a record pace. America continues to lower its interest rates, which is absolutely ticking off China, because America owes China billions upon billions of dollars. And the lower the interest rates here become, the less money that we actually owe China, the less money that we're going to have to pay them. So China right now is in a financial boom, and China has been buying up components of the United States for years basically. But we've reached the point now where China, should they dump all their stocks, could absolutely bankrupt this country. But in order for them to do that, they would have to make some sacrifices. They'd have to lose a lot of money, and they'd need a very, very, very strong economy to be able to do that. So what's happening in China right now is their Lunar New Year celebration. And this is like their Christmas time. This is like, you know, the big shopping season when all the big money transpires, all the big transactions, all the profits, all of the, you know, the whole year really rests upon this Lunar New Year celebration. Everyone travels, everyone basically goes back to where they grew up, and they bring presents, and it's just a huge, huge thing. This is the biggest shopping season that they have in China. So now let me read this to you. China shares fall on power outage. This is from the Houston Chronicle. Chinese stocks fell Friday as power generators were hit by worries that their earnings will be sapped by blackouts due to winter weather. The benchmark Shanghai Composite Index slipped 0.8% or 34.45 points. Not that any of you really care about that, but the snowstorms in China will hurt listed companies' first quarter earnings, and since overall sentiment is weak, investors are treating the matter more seriously even though it's a seasonal factor. Severe weather conditions across China, with some areas suffering their worst snowfall in more than a decade, have led to transport chaos as well as disrupted supplies of food and fuel. Snow and ice have also snapped power lines, causing energy shortages. The Tang International Power Generation fell 9.9% to 16.11 yuan, blah blah blah. And I'll supplement that story with one from the Christian Science Monitor. China battles rising prices and snowstorms. The snowstorms currently sweeping China have wreaked havoc with millions of people's New Year travel plans and caused $3 billion worth of losses, including thousands of acres of winter crops. But the harsh weather is revealing an even deeper problem for Beijing, the difficulty of trying to manage a mixed economy which is 30% state-owned and 70% in private hands. The Chinese economy is not a real market economy, nor a real command economy, so government controls are not very effective. Food and power shortages affecting tens of millions of people and tens of thousands of enterprises have drawn attention to just how difficult a task the Chinese government faces even when the sun is shining. The weather and timing have compounded underlying economic problems, says Stephen Green, senior economist with Standard Chartered Bank in Shanghai. This is a perfect storm, he says. The past month has seen several indications of